Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. How is everyone doing tonight? I want to thank everybody for showing up and everybody watches live stream afterwards. We're keeping pace with everything that's going on in Congress, and there's stuff being filed at SCOTUS, and we might not be privy to it right now. But John Eastman gave an interview. Now, John Eastman is the attorney for Donald Trump, who was on the stage with Mr. T. If you all remember, he was on the stage when Mr. T was gave his patriotically and peacefully protests down at the Capitol speech. Peacefully and patriotically. Or vice versa. But anyway, he was wearing a Humphrey Bogart hat and overcoat, if you all will recall that. And he's been under attack, as many conservatives have been through these political prosecutions. But anyway, we'll get into what he had to say, what he was discussing. Very interesting. Hi, Sherry. How you doing? Diane. Nice to see you. Kim. Good to see you. So he's talking about an emergency filing, writ Habeus Corpus with SCOTUS concerning Mr. T's potential jailing. One thing that I found interesting, and I didn't bring it up in the last broadcast, but we had Comey making multiple appearances on television. And his first appearance that I'm aware of in a long time, he was on one of the news services, and he was saying that Trump's behavior and Trump's comments were a danger to the country as a whole. And basically a lot of people took it as giving a hint out, somebody needs to stop him. This is the most serious thing we've ever faced in world history. And the duplicitous nature of Jack Smith claiming that the things Trump says puts the FBI in danger. Here you got the former head of the FBI saying much more inflammatory things against Trump that would cause people to, especially somebody suffering from that famous three-lettered disorder, T, D, and then S, to do something towards Trump. So anyway, Jack Smith is he's getting straightened out by Eileen Cannon, and he's taking his crap to the Supreme Court. And we know Fani Willis is taking her stuff to the appellate court, and she's been put off till October. So they're getting swatted down right and left, and Trump publicly called out for the Supreme Court to get involved. I believe, that a filing would accompany that public call. So we'll see. MS Motorsports, how you doing? Alicia, how you doing? Yvonne, nice to see you. I hope everything's okay over there in the UK. David, nice to see you. So anyway, Eastman's point is that it's universal to, anybody that has not been on this coordinated psychological warfare campaign. Alan Dershowitz, for example, attorneys that are willing to comment on it. It amazes me how unless they're like pretty big time notable attorneys like Giuliani and Alan Dershowitz, how little real examination we have for the UTISL community on the details, which are not confusing. You know, it can be put very easily in layman's terms, but with these, I've shown their names, I've shown their channels. There's a half a dozen channels that for years have been consistently anti-Trump, no matter what the hell is going on, no matter what he's done. It's always put in the worst light and backed up by somebody saying, I am an attorney. I know what I'm talking about. So I think that has to be addressed. So, and I think it will be addressed in a big way. In a big way. I've said many times, I wish I was 20 years younger, 30 years younger. I'd be working on having a career in law. Going to be a lot of openings coming up. Mark my words. Hi, Sissy. How you doing? So, watching Merrick Garland, now I'll get back to Eastman in a little bit, but watching Merrick Garland, I didn't watch all of his testimony, but I want to caution you all to not slam the door on possibilities with what is going on with the Justice Department and with the FBI. I'm talking Garland and Christopher Wray. Remember how I talked about with Lindsey Graham, you know, how he said with the J and then the other part is 6 people that he wanted to quote. Well, I'll paraphrase a quote that you can get the point. He said, I heard it on UTISL, he'd like to put one in the back of their head. And his exact quote was, one, you substitute that for BULLET, okay? And I can't say it for, guidelines. But that's what he said. And everybody's like, oh, I told you Lindsey Graham was a traitor. Well, he may have got himself in some trouble. He may be doing something, but he's definitely working with us. Otherwise, Mr. T would have never said he's there when you need him. Given his endorsements, he's playing a role. But my point is, which people was he talking about? Who he'd like to put one in the back of their head? Was he talking about the provocateurs? Is what I think, not the grandmas and the people who are being held and persecuted that didn't really do anything wrong. Same with Merrick Garland. If you listen very closely to his answers, when they're talking about Coangelo coming from the Justice Department, when they're talking about Alvin Bragg and the prosecution of Trump, he's pointing out that state prosecutors are not under the Justice Department's purview. Okay, they're state run, and Coangelo quit at the White House. All right, the technical reality is he resigned his position. He was a free agent, and he was hired by the state. So what Garland is saying, we don't have any purview over him right now. Could they have purview in the future? Of course they could. How? Well, I'm a layman. I'm just telling you what what I feel as an American citizen and what I've seen in the past, and it would have to be a federal issue. Namely, somebody would have to break federal law. i.e., deprivation of rights. Trump has said it in his posts that he's being deprived of his rights. He's naming the amendments and free speech with the gag order, all of his civil rights that are being violated. And I think once there's a point of a formal complaint or charges being put against, say, Alvin Bragg, say, Coangelo as a state employee, that they have violated not just Trump's, but other people's constitutional rights, it'll become a federal issue. We don't know if that's an investigation in progress. We don't know if this is all part of, I'm saying, what could be possible. A big sting operation. It could very well be. And I may not be batting 1,000 about who I'm thinking is a patriot placed in trusted positions, as we've been told. But I certainly think it's a possibility of Christopher Wray and an outside shot that Merrick Garland is also in a position to gather evidence, have people actually document, thinking that he's playing along with it, but document their own criminality. So we'll have to see how it pans out. Hi, cameraman. Well, be careful driving. Yeah, Hunter Biden's laptop enters court evidence. Well, then it's accessible to the public. And I don't think it's ever been introduced as evidence in a court proceeding yet, has it? You had a big rally in the UK. Oh, good. Yvonne, I hope it was for cameraman's having some coffee and dry. That's good. I want to thank Bev and Mike and Bev for they came about an hour ago and came into buy me a coffee and helped out with the channel. I appreciate it. And cameraman's helped out in the past too. We're having coffee together. And Zsa and Gary and Lone Wolf are the latest that helped out with Hilarious too. Miss Bender Sue, Angela, Pappy, Two Bears. So Robin's helped out. I don't see if Robin's in here. Christopher, I haven't seen Christopher in a while. But anyway, I'm just cruising through the comments here. Tennessee, how you doing? Nice to see you. So anyway, we've got all these things bubbling in the background, and I think what's going on with Congress, and I've alluded to this in the past, I might be wishful thinking, wishful daydreaming, but I said sometime last year that I think a lot of these congressional exercises are to document and investigate and have all that stuff wrapped up for trials. And some of it will be civilian and some of it will be military. But you can't get any higher a level of documentation than things entered into the congressional record and testimony given under oath to Congress. The congressional record is forever. Not where you have to, oh, I got to jump over to this state and look up this bit of stuff here, and I got to go do a FOIA request over at that courthouse, and I got to do this and I got to do that. No, we're talking congressional record, open to the people. Okay. Now, of course, we've had some testimony that were behind closed doors and would have to be opened up and released. And we've got executive branch stuff that has to be entered into the record, and that's what we have been seeing Mr. Trump, President Trump, alluding to for a long time. Declassifying papers. And his latest thing was on his Fox News interview. Among a great many things, he's going to declass Kennedy files and the Epstein files. So, yeah, the heat's getting turned up. Jet lag, how you doing? Pappy Two Bears, Judy. Nice to see you. But, oh gosh, did I forget to wish everybody a happy Pride Month? Yes, I forgot to do it. I'm just saying it's Pride Month, okay? I'm not saying have a happy one. It's just Pride Month, okay? Juneteenth, I was looking at my calendar to see, just before I went live, to see what particular day something's going to happen. And I saw on that little calendar on my phone screen, Juneteenth. Juneteenth. I don't even know what the hell that stands for. So that's another thing we're going to do, straighten all this stuff, get rid of all these dopey, politically motivated holidays and holidays that focus on people's bedroom activities. We don't need that. So we need to get rid of all that stuff. Hi, William. How you doing? Island Girl. Nice to see you. So anyway, I've heard a couple of different notions about this business of Trump being sentenced. Dershowitz was of a mind that Trump has got to wait in line, be heard by SCOTUS, unless he petitions to have his sentencing accelerated earlier than what, the 11th? And then after the sentencing's done, he can present an appeal. And even then, he would have to do a little Hail Mary to get over the appeals court, which I've heard described, I think it was Doug in Exile. His description, not mine, was that the New York, in whatever district that is, at the Court of Appeals are 5 women of liberal bent and also people of color. Not that there's anything nefarious about that, but they are avowed liberals. So yeah, there's something nefarious about that too. So Dershowitz is very much saying, well, you know, your chances are very slim because these appellate judges are elected officials, and that they have ties to the community, the type of individuals that he used to have ties with, the Martha's Vineyard crowd, that shun him now. And he said in about 3 or 4 videos ago that it's beyond belief that when he talks with these people, when they deign to talk to him, that no matter what he says, no matter what he shows them, no matter what facts he presents, they are rabidly anti-Trump. And he is guilty, no matter what. And he feels that those same influences are going to be weighing heavily on these 5 justices I mentioned earlier. Eastman, however, doesn't allude to any of that. He said his counsel, even though they suspended his law license in California or revoked it, I believe. Excuse me while I have a sip of my coffee. Yeah, it's good. Eastman says, well, you just do an emergency petition straight to the Supreme Court. And he mentioned at the beginning of his interview about habeas corpus, which, as most of us know, have learned what little we know of the details or whatever the legal ramifications of habeas corpus. That means the body, bring me the body, I want this person physically seized and brought before the court, under the control of the court, whatever, however they describe it. And as we know, that a person has to have due process, okay? And it was famously suspended. Habeas corpus was suspended by Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. No, we're not. It's not been suspended. It's in full force and effect. And Eastman pointed out some very easily described and explained flaws in the felony conviction of Donald Trump. It is on its face politically motivated. I feel in my perfect world, that, and I've always wondered about this, how does the judiciary police itself? What if you have, I'm not saying we've got one, but just say, what if you had a rogue judge? All these questions. What if you have a rogue president that orders the Navy SEALs to take out his opponent? What if you have a rogue president who red rums somebody in the Oval Office? You're saying he's immune? Okay, well, what's the mechanism if we have a judge that's gone rogue, lost their flipping mind? We know the Constitution provides for Congress in the balance of powers to police the presidency via impeachment. We know Congress can police itself by censuring and even expelling members. Impeachment is the sole power. The only one with the sole power of impeachment is the Senate. It's not their sole power, of course, but it is exclusively a power given to the Senate in Congress in a trial. Now, the House can file articles of impeachment, but the final word is conviction. Conviction. And the House is the only entity that can bring articles of impeachment. So we know those basics. But how does the court deal with their own? I know, I've talked about it in the past, I know of judges who've been removed from the bench. It's not done in a very public way. I don't know the details of the mechanisms of it, but I talked about a particular judge who really didn't have a good grasp of the law, and his caseload's backed up. Things were all screwed up, and some of his decisions were flawed, and he just wasn't cutting it. So what do they do in this case? And another thing I brought up in the past about Alito. Remember, I brought up that Alito had put out an order from a Supreme Court justice for them to maintain the ballots in Pennsylvania, to protect them, maintain their integrity for the court as evidence, and it was ignored. What is their enforcement capabilities? They rely on the Justice Department solely? I don't know. I know if you're in contempt of court, you can go to jail. The judge could tell a bailiff or a marshal to go ahead and cuff you and put you in jail. So I don't know what is, and Alito just happens to be one of the judges, one of the justices that they're going after. Thomas and Alito are the top two, and I'm sure if Scalia was still around, they'd be going after him. But as we all know, he's been out of the picture. Out of the picture, excuse me. Out of the picture. Autocorrect. I don't see where you made a mistake, but I know what you're talking about with autocorrect. Hi, Lone Wolf. Ravens. I've done that with autocorrect. So anyway, and we know Congress can make criminal referrals, like Fauci. Fauci's already had criminal referral through Rand Paul, and I'm sure Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be putting out, or if she hadn't already, criminal referrals. She already said her piece. I played it for you last night. Can the Supreme Court justices make a criminal referral? Can they hold people in contempt and have them picked up? Did you ever watch some of these YouTube videos where people are having their hearings via Zoom? And I guess the most notorious one is recent, where the guy was driving a car and he was having his hearing for driving on a suspended license. And it's funny. And the judge said, and that judge cracks me up, I tell you. I've watched that judge. I can't think of his name right offhand, but he's got this little white mustache and big glasses. And he just gets these looks on his face like, oh, man, you're in trouble. Okay. So here this guy is driving his car. And, okay, give me a minute, Your Honor. I'm pulling in to the doctor's office, and well, I can continue with the hearing. He could have made some mistake and acted like I'm having trouble with my Zoom. The camera won't work. Or I dropped my phone. I think I got some water on my phone. Come up with something till you park your car. No, he's got to go, hang on a minute. At least I got my seatbelt on. So the judge ordered him to report to jail by 6 p.m. I've seen other Zoom calls where people are pulling some stunt, and the judge dispatches bailiffs, deputies to go right then and there, go to his house and pick him up. And you see them getting arrested on Zoom while they're still on Zoom with the judge, because the judge ordered them arrested. So I don't know what's the Supreme Court justice. If you make a ruling and somebody tells you to stick it or ignores it, what is their enforcement mechanism? I don't know. I would think that they have some manner of enforcement, some power to compel. So Dershowitz was saying, well, I would hope that the Supreme Court is, up to speed on this, that they're watching it, and, you don't have to go into a lot of detail or they're not aware. Listen, they have watched every iota of this situation with Trump, and they're up to speed on it. So what are their powers? Remember Judge Engoron? I played a video two times where he said he had a power not a lot of people talk about. And he said that power is the jury's verdict notwithstanding. And he lets people off the hook. Now, I talked about how I heard from on another attorney's program. I think it was maybe Viva and Barnes. I'm not sure. They said that a judge, if a jury says someone's innocent or acquits them or says not guilty, that a judge cannot say, oh, you got it wrong, he's guilty. But if a jury convicts somebody and a judge feels that they were in error or they didn't follow his instructions or whatever the case may be, then a judge can say the jury's verdict notwithstanding and wipe out the conviction and set somebody free. But they can't do it the other way around. So that's what Eastman was getting at. That Supreme Court can review some of the more blatant and obvious deprivation of rights and do the same thing. Nullify the verdict of the jury. And there ain't a damn thing Mercon can do about it. Hi, Debbie. Let me just see what's going on in the chats here. Yeah, Tommy Robinson, they're still screwing with him over there. I saw an article today on the bottom of the New York Post. It said that New York had passed the first social media law, but I hadn't looked up what it is. I'm afraid it's a Great Britain style law, where you can go to jail for a meme. That's why I was upset about my that email situation. But anyway, I didn't send out anything. I just like to have a pen name, electronic pen name. I don't need everybody knowing where I am, who I am, what I said. But anyway, so the clock is ticking. We're supposed to have these debates, and shame on me, but I forgot when they're supposed to be. But they ain't going to be between now and his sentencing. And a lot of creators, most of you probably heard, what's her name, Sunny Hostin on The View. claiming she had inside scoop that Trump would be sentenced to a year, like 364 days. If you're a year or less, you go to Rikers Island, and the crowd, hey! Well, juxtapose that with Comey's suggestion to put Trump in a trailer out in a field to keep him away from, as Comey was saying, general population. So, whatever's the case, how many days we got? A week? Till the sentencing? What did Trump say? Don't beg these people for anything. Is he going to file something, or is he just going to call for the Supreme Court to step in? Of course, the Supreme Court can interject itself anytime it wants to. I'd like to have the opinion of an attorney on that. But I feel the Supreme Court, with these subordinate courts, they're ultimately responsible for all the courts underneath them, even if they're state courts. They can interject themselves if it, especially a federal issue. In this case, a federal issue of national import and international import. The most notorious case in the world right now. There's no other case that anybody's more worried about as far as the number of population than this Trump New York case. In every nation around the world, there are millions of people who have their eyes on this. The world has their eyes on this case. Oh, it's debates on June 26th. Now, there's 4 debates, Diane, 4 of them, with 4 different news organizations. Yeah, by limiting illegals to 2,500 a day. Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Ronald. Yeah, Mercan is an acting judge. He was appointed by somebody. I don't know the details of that. He same as the one who signed the warrant for Mar-a-Lago. He was a magistrate, and he was overseeing where Trump was suing Hillary Clinton in Florida, along with a bunch of other entities like the Washington Post and all this other. He got pulled off of that case by Judge Middleton, or a judge, not a magistrate. A magistrate is like a click above justice of the peace, or the same level as justice of the peace, versus a judge. So anyway, Judge Middleton took over the case and threw everything out of Trump's and fined his attorneys, sanctioned Trump's attorneys, and then sicked this magistrate on Mar-a-Lago. So it's pretty obvious. Kaplan Kaplan is the one that's doing the Bergdorf assault. Okay, what's her face? The old bat. I keep forgetting her name. Kaplan's doing that one. This one is Merchan is going to be doing the sentencing. Because Kaplan's case is a civil case where he awarded her $86 million or however much it was. Yeah, Kim, Biden had never had any intention of debating Mr. T. All this stuff was already baked into the cake for him to be found guilty. Yeah, the ugly woman who claims you know what, right? That's what we'll refer to her as. So anyway, some moves have got to happen. This is a big, big week coming up. Will the Supreme Court step in? Will they stay? Now, Dershowitz said if they sentenced him, if Merchan sentenced him to jail, that it would be immediately stayed. Now, what's immediate? Would they be happy with 2 hours of Trump being put in handcuffs and pictures being taken? Him actually in a holding cell? Immediate? Is that 2 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours? How much would the people in charge, namely the shadow people, how much would they pay to have Trump put in an orange suit? The View was babbling on about Trump having to show some remorse. That's telling all of his supporters, and I'm convinced the majority of voting age population, that we ought to be showing remorse for how we think. We should be ashamed because of our conservatism. But they're saying, oh, Trump, he needs to tell that judge, that corrupt judge, I'm sorry. Then maybe he'll just get 6 months and then probation for 4 years. These people are insane. I agree, Ravens. I don't know how it's going to be, and we've discussed that multiple times. I didn't know if it was going to be house arrest or what it would boil down to, but they got to cross the Rubicon and actually commit an act like that to set a final precedent of jailing these people. Now, I've said before, I'll get worried when Trump looks worried. And I haven't seen him worried. He went to the UFC thing, had a great time. People cheering him and watching the fights, and yeah, he didn't seem upset when he did his interview on Fox News. He said, well, going to jail, if I got to go to jail, I got to go. You know, don't beg these people. And he said it might be hard on the American people. But what are they going to do? We just do it. We just got to do it. Didn't seem to rattle his cage. So I'm not, my cage ain't rattled either. Yeah, Debbie. Yeah, we know we have to come together, but it's like Alan Dershowitz, what he's talking about with his former friends. You're talking about a guy that's 85 years old, that's been before the Supreme Court, argued cases, some of the most famous cases in the country, and lifelong associates and friends will not speak to him. People in positions of power, responsibility, that condone that circus of a trial. That right there shows that these people do not belong in positions of responsibility and power. They need to be removed. They have no business teaching in quote higher learning, okay, universities and things like that. People that have that attitude and condone this kind of abuse have no business in positions of power, no business holding a law license. And it's my sincere hope that social media is being gathered and filed away. People making public statements that are wrong on their face against the black letter of law, if they can be tied to organizations that receive foreign financing, foreign influence, that can be a basis for cleaning out our judiciary system. But we know we need to come together. But what do you do when you have this huge group of intelligentsia, whatever they want to call themselves, that are so adamantly psychotic, where they can't even uphold basic precepts of our Constitution? And worse yet, they hold power. We've got people that are, like Dershowitz describes, hopelessly delusional and anti-MAGA, that they believe Maxine Waters when she says they're going up in the hills training for a civil war. They believe that crap. Or do they? Do they just want to foster a narrative to bolster the notion of keeping Trump out of office and keeping him in jail and jailing other opponents? That's a criminal intent. And we also have to keep in mind that there's a difference between something being unlawful versus something being criminal. It's a fine line. Just because something is unlawful doesn't make it a criminal offense. So I'm not versed well enough in each and every instance or event or situation to go, oh, there's a criminal. Oh, that one's just a moron. Or that one's an ignoramus. It's not criminal to be an ignoramus. It's criminal when you knowingly do things. When you knowingly violate your oath. When you knowingly deprive someone of their constitutional rights. You know, one thing during Garland's testimony that made me think much like what I was thinking about Lindsey Graham. He was talking about poll watchers, that under no circumstances would they be allowed to be, would he or the Justice Department allow them to be threatened or menaced or bothered in any way. And on his face, people with their passions aroused would think he was exclusively talking about the ones putting pizza boxes over the windows. Okay? The ones who pulled boxes out from under a table. I want you to open your mind up to the thought that he may have been talking about the people that got physically shoved out of precincts, menaced and threatened on camera. Specific instances were even discussed by the sitting president, Donald J. Trump. I saw how they treated those people. They were bullies. They were violent. They threw people out of precincts that were supposed to be observing. He's describing federal crimes that were committed during 2020. Was that what Garland was talking about? Making sure that never happens again? Yeah, Ravens, Graham is a loser, but as I keep saying, and Mr. Trump keeps saying, President Trump keeps saying, he's there when you need him. And sometimes if you want to trip up the devil, you got to dance with him. You got to get in close. Well, Ravens wings, what would be the mechanism? You say the military will step in? This is our one shot. Our one shot. And it's something that's going to go down the history books in front of the whole world. So we're going to have a military coup. We're going to abandon the Constitution. Well, have they already abandoned it? Like Trump said, they've trashed it. The Constitution has been trashed. But they twisted around to say Trump wants to trash it. Trump wants to cancel the Constitution. When what he was saying is they've already ignored it to the point that it's ineffectual. That's right. I think so too, Ronald. Graham is playing his part. Did you all hear that the therapist for the what's her name that went, or she, him, shim, went to the church school and went pew pew? What was her? Don't even put her name in there. You all know who I'm talking about. Okay, I'll say her first name, Audrey. Okay, and then her second name's Mikhail. She went and committed a heinous crime, and somebody released a couple of pages from her manuscript. Remember that? I put them on the screen. Well, her therapist been arrested. That's a good step. That's a step in the right direction. Arrested during Pride Month. So anyway, that is one of the a mandatory. What do they refer to those people as? Preachers, teachers, therapists. They're called mandatory reporters. If they hear of a potential for harm, violence, or anything like that, they have to mandatorily report that. And apparently, in the therapist's notes, in the manifesto that hadn't been totally released, there was ample evidence that this person should have reported, and that's why they're under arrest. Funny how that happens during Pride Month. Okay, I'm just looking through the chats. Yeah, summer love. Oh boy. Well, it's going to be some upheaval when things happen. It's just, when is it going to happen? My concern is, what I've said for a long time, is Mr. T said that there was going to be a lot more economic pain than what we're feeling right now. That has not happened. That there was going to be World War III, or an intense scare event towards World War III. None of that's happened. So we got to go. Yeah, well, there's a lot of EOs. Everybody's waiting to kick in. 13848 and all the other different ones we've gone over. I saw somebody put in what I had been saying on Dan Scavino. He posted another music video from AC/DC, Thunderstruck. I told you that day before yesterday. He posted the Genesis song, Phil Collins song, and today he posted Thunderstruck, or maybe it was last night, I don't know. And somebody had the EOs that Diane's mentioning, but other people put some pretty interesting comments that, I don't know, a ship. Where is that? Let me ask you all, how many of you have heard about this ship that was launched? Oh, today is Tank Man, the anniversary of Tank Man. Have you all heard of X-37B, a spacecraft goes by X-37B? That was what somebody put on a response to Scavino posting the video of AC/DC singing Thunderstruck. And it's got a picture of this craft. I think I'll put it up on True Social myself. Hi, I am X-37B. May 17th, 2020, while Mr. T was president, I took off on my latest record-breaking mission, 908 days in orbit. During that time and space, down on Earth, these things occurred. 20 RIOTS across America. the 2020 presidential and then selection, the 2020 selection protests on the 6th day. You know what I'm talking about. The 2021 inauguration of Joe Biden, the 2022 midterms held on November 8th, 2022. Then I landed safely on November 12th, 2022. So 4 days after the midterms, this craft, maybe I'll put a picture on my thumbnail for this video of it. It kind of looks like a space shuttle, but it's shaped more like a big bullet or a big cigar. But it looks like a space shuttle. So it landed 4 days after the 2022 midterms and was in a record-breaking time in orbit. It's the first I've heard of it. Yeah, I expand a picture of it. It says U.S. Air Force on the side, but Space Force is its own deal, right? Beyond U.S. Air Force or Navy or anything else. So I don't know. I pulled it up. I'll take a look at it. Joe Biden, this is from Breitbart, addresses Gans Trender children in Alphabet Pride proclamation. Seattle area, and this is another article, Seattle area city tows taxpayer-funded Alphabet Pride catwalk for toddlers. In Seattle, toddlers can join in on the catwalk for Alphabet people, okay? And this is sponsored in part by a state senator and a sitting judge in Seattle. I can't imagine that there wouldn't be some kind of federal intervention. And some of the way to have these people removed. I also keep in mind that Mr. T said on more than one occasion that we're at war. He said that during his presidency. He said that in 2019. So we'll see how that plays in. Here's the actual article. Trans school pew pew. Audrey Hale shared fantasies of killing family, children, and with the therapist who failed to report these ideations to law enforcement. Well, remember how I told you all about how that country, Georgia, passed the law about you must disclose foreign money coming in? Well, they got another bill that they're putting forward. Get a load of this. Meanwhile, in Georgia, this time authorities are going to ban same-sex marriage, alphabet propaganda, and gender reassignment. I look for that to happen here, folks, along with the foreign money disclosures. A package of bills has already been submitted to Parliament by the ruling Georgia Dream Party. Among other things, it is proposed to prohibit LGBT people from adopting children, holding demonstrations aimed at promoting non-traditional relationships, as well as S3X reassignment operations. Yeah, should you be allowed to go out in public and demand a criminal activity to occur, which, as far as I'm concerned, surgery on minors, life-altering, permanent surgeries for this theory is criminal. Can you go out and agitate for somebody to commit arson? No. Can you go out and agitate for somebody to go beat up people? No. Then you can't agitate for somebody to go out and mutilate children. I wonder if that's going to get me in some kind of trouble. And Turkey announced that they're going to be joining. They're looking into joining BRICS. That's going to come home to roost. You watch with BRICS. So, Pappy, you heard about it. It's a Air Force secret space machine, classified. Hi, Angela. Oh, hope everything goes okay. Saw something in her head x-ray. Hi, Wanda. Well, Angela, keep us posted. Oh, there's a logo that says Space Force Department of Air Force. There are good and bad ones, every branch. I see. Well, it's the first I ever heard of this craft. It's the first picture I've ever seen of it. Yeah, on this day in 1989, the pro-democracy protesters in China's Tiananmen Square faced a bloody military crackdown that marked a turning point for the Chinese Communist control of the country's political reforms. They tried to wipe Tank Man off of Google entirely, and people raised so much devil, they stopped. But you could do searches for Tank Man. Last year, they tried to wipe him completely out. And they say when they did that crackdown, that 100,000 people, up to 100,000 people, have been reported missing or never heard from, or actually known to be meet the ultimate punishment, never to return home. So today is a Tank Man is a hero. He'll be around in everybody's memories, hopefully forever. Now, I've told you all about Steve Leto. I've talked about attorneys in the past I enjoy watching, and he's got a lot of interesting stuff. And he's got a big audience, too, Steve Leto. Last name is Letho. Some people say Letho, but he pronounces it Lehto, Leto. But anyway, someone tried giving $120,000 to juror in fraud trial. I thought that was interesting that this story would pop up. He got 40,000 views in 9 hours. He gets, he's out of Michigan. He's done videos about Jay Leno's cars. He's done videos on civil forfeiture where he helped a veteran get $40,000 back when they tried to take his money. Really good guy. But I found it interesting that this story popped up about a juror being bribed, 125 grand. But if you want to see the details on that, just make a note to give him a look-see, because maybe we're dealing with that now. So Trump's social media was pointing out primaries that are upcoming. And you all might want to check out if he's endorsing somebody in your state. Georgia is June 18th. Nevada, June 11th. Virginia, June 18th. And New York, June 25th. So, really pay attention to what's happening, because if we can't control our local governments, if we can't control our state governments, all this is a flipping waste of time. We fell asleep at the switch and we let these local governments and state governments get away from us. I don't see Kentucky, Ape Sitter. I'm sure you can pull it up. These were just the ones that Trump put on his social media. But I'll tell you what else he put up, where you can go. It's called swampthevoteusa.com. Trump announced it, and Dan Scavino did a follow-up Truth, both of them today on Truth Social. Trump says, today we launched Swamp the Vote USA. Whether you vote absentee, by mail, early, in person, or election day, we will secure your vote. Just vote. They're all good options. The way to win is to swamp them with votes. Go to Swamp the Vote USA, and you can request your ballot or whatever it is. So they've set that up through the Trump organization. Ape Sitter, you might want to go on there and check it out. Everybody, check it out. Hi, Joy. Oh, it was for a COVID relief funds. And a juror reported it. Wow. How many millions did we lose in those relief funds? Hundreds of millions gone down the toilet. SwampTheVotesUSA.com. Citizens Free Press put up a video. It's 29 seconds long. A teenage girl lifting her shirt, showing her double mastectomy scars at a pride event. People need to go to jail over this kind of stuff. I'm not going to record it. Discussing thieves in Southern California stealing fire hydrants and selling them for scrap. Now, I might get a video of this one here, Citizens Free Press had up. Somebody on Piers Morgan, leftist activist Francesca Florentini is certain Donald Trump committed a crime, but has no idea which crime. They tried to pin her down. And she couldn't come up with anything. I'm just looking through the chats here. Hi, Cherry. Nice to see you. So anyway, I don't know what the game plan is, folks. Is Trump going to just carry on with his affairs and then show up on the 11th? You know, there's a lot of pressure on these people. You know, Trump puts out a statement, the SCOTUS must step in. And then he goes on with his endorsements. He raises record money. All the polls are showing him very strong. Like his statement on Fox News, don't beg these people for anything. It's a lot of pressure, whether they admit it or not. They have to come up with something within a week. What are they going to do? Are they going to have ospreys flying around Rikers Island for 6 months, and SEAL teams and Secret Service and submarines going around Rikers Island? It's a ridiculous notion, but these are ridiculous people. These are ridiculous times. Maybe we'll learn what is in the toolbox of the judiciary and the Supreme Court. If there's blatant violations of the law, we'll see what their ability to cure rogue elements within their branch. How much self-policing can they do? We know that it's set up so each branch can police each other, balances of power. But what about internally? We've gone over how Congress can regulate itself. The executive, to a large degree, through the Nixon affair, we'll put it that way. How about with the courts? How do you handle somebody who just takes it upon themselves to create political turmoil with no regard for the body politic, for the faith in institutions, trust in institutions by over 50% of the populace, or 40%, or, a large amount, make decisions, rulings that infuriate a large number of people. What can the judiciary do? Maybe we'll find out. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, they're a full clown show. So anyway, I'm seeing if everybody's gotten any I heard something else too. They were talking about these Biden tapes, releasing the Biden tapes. And one commentator got away with saying it, that what they did was they put the actual tapes of Biden's interview with Robert Hur, they put it at Q level clearance. He said that on the air. I think it was on CNN, that the only people that could see or hear those tapes that they're asking for Biden had to have Q level clearance. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, one congressman called it demeanor evidence. Their demeanor, their tone of voice, the way you can audibly judge their demeanor, visually judge their competency and veracity. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. So anyway, it's been an hour and 20 minutes, folks. It's been a little bit of a slow news day. I want to thank Mike and Bev for helping out with Buy Me a Coffee this evening. I really appreciate it, helping to sponsor the show. And last night it was Gary and Lone Wolf. And Jaja came out after hours. I call it after hours. And all the folks I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I do appreciate it very much. Angela, you were one of them I thanked. So anyway, if you missed the beginning of the show, please do me a favor and go back to the beginning to listen to it. Unless something big happens, I won't be broadcasting tomorrow night. Unless something big happens, I'll be live. But if not, if it's another day where I think they're going to try to sweat him out, sweat Mercan out. And you never know. They may just keep quiet about this situation and let the phone calls, emails, what to do, go back and forth. Because remember, FISA works both ways. Okay? They can get a warrant, a FISA warrant, to capture all that information. And who's going to spill the beans on who? Not even know they're spilling the beans. So let's see how it goes, folks. And if nothing big happens, I will see you probably Thursday. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. Thank you all for spending your precious time with me this evening. I hope you all have a great night. This is Mountain Man, over and out.